Gary Lineker, 62, and Piers Morgan, 57, have a history of former spats, and have argued about almost everything from paychecks to BBC licence fees. However, perhaps to many people's surprise, Piers put in a word of support for his so-called frenemy on Twitter yesterday, telling him he was his defence. Gary had made a divisive comment about the government's tough news stance on small boat migrants, comparing his policy to that of Nazis in 1930s Germany. As of yesterday, illegal immigrants were banned from claiming asylum or using human rights law clauses to remain in the country. Rishi had vowed to take back control of our borders, once and for all, but Gary was appalled, accusing the PM of immeasurable cruelty. After watching Home Secretary Suella Braverman's video claiming the country was being overwhelmed and that it was imperative to stop the boats, Gary shot back, "Good heavens, this is beyond awful." The Match of the Day host exclaimed, "There is no huge influx. We take far fewer refugees than other major European countries. This is just an immeasurably cruel policy directed at the most vulnerable people in language that is not dissimilar to that used by Germany in the 30s. As he endured a backlash and divided his followers on the fiercely political issue, Piers Morgan stood in his defense during a broadcast on Talk TV. He then cheekily warned the ex-football player on Twitter, "Bad news at Gary Lineker, I'm your defense." Gary replied back with a tears of laughter emoji, exclaiming, "I'm doomed." He has been accused of breaking the BBC's clauses about impartiality for expressing his opinion, and the broadcaster publicly revealed it would be having a word with him on the matter. However, Piers argued on his show, "I don't think you can be a campaigner for free speech, as I am, and just turn off the tap because I don't like the opinion I'm hearing." If Lineker was cheering the government for getting to grips with the migrant crisis, the very people demanding Hess fired would be wanting him to get a statue in Trafalgar Square. Despite declaring Gary's opinion clearly incendiary, and historically wrong, he defended his right to have his feelings heard, stating that his 8.5 million followers wanted to know his views. "There's no comparison between what the British government is proposing to what Nazi Germany did." Gary got a bit carried away as he tends to do, Piers reasoned. "We both have strong opinions, we both believe in what we say, and we express them forcefully, but we agree to disagree, and I have no problem with Gary Lineker, a sports presenter, giving his views," he continued. Hess not a BBC News journalist, Hess not anchoring the news at 10 or Question Time or Newsnight. Hess a football presenter on Match of the Day and other major sporting events. Hess a celebrity, a public figure, his 8.5 million followers want to know what he thinks about stuff. Why do we pretend that people like him exist in a sealed PVC bubble of propriety where no opinions exist? Piers added, "Who cares what Gary Lineker really says about government policy? Hess just, in the end, a football presenter." "I don't mean that to denigrate him, Hess very good at it, but Hess not a news presenter, so it shouldn't matter to the BBC's news outlet what he thinks about the migrant situation." The broadcaster also referenced Gary's coverage of the start of last year's World Cup in Qatar, which he suggested he had made a monologue about Qatar's human rights abuses. "My question for the BBC would be, if it was alright for Gary Lineker to express views about Qatar's human rights abuses and you agreed that he could do that. What's the difference between him doing that at the start of the World Cup and now tweeting his disagreement about what he now considers human rights abuses by the current British government?" Piers quizzed. though he insisted he felt he had been wrong to single out Qatar on that occasion, especially as he had not spoken up at previous World Cups held in countries with controversial histories, such as Russia. He clarified that he had no issue with him giving his views. After reading Piers' show of support for him, the presenter, who insists he has received love and support for his comments as well as a backlash, joked that he was doomed.